Frank Sepe for Muscle and Fitness, fit to serve here with my partner, Rob Wilkins. Rob's on location with.
I'm here with fellow Army veteran Ernie Colling. We're looking forward to learning more about his service,
Yes.
his great company here called Transcend, all the benefits and all the great services they provide to military personnel, and how he's going to help us improve our health and our fitness. So, Ernie, thank you for this time. We really, really appreciate it. You making got such a demanding schedule. You're from South Africa to Hawaii to Italy,
Yeah.
and so for you to carve out this time, we really, really appreciate it. So, for those who don't know about you, basically let us know about your service, where you're from. And while you didn't serve in the Air Force, that's okay, but tell us about your Army service.
I will absolutely tell you about the Army service. For me, I was born and raised in Rochester, Transcends in Oakland County, which is very close to where I grew up. And, we didn't have a very heavy military influence in this area, but, obviously, with the dynamics back in the early 2000s, everybody, was very cognizant of the military, what was going on. So, being of that generation, I wanted to join. I was infantry, I was enlisted, did that. And, I did end up, later in life going to Iraq and Afghanistan multiple times, worked for a couple of the intelligence agencies, mostly behind the desk, doing things in, current operations and things like that. But definitely had a very long and diverse career in that area, getting in between infantry intelligence and going back and forth overseas to, different areas. But it all led to the road here. At the end of the day, you do things like that, and eventually you find out, your own medical needs, they're going to creep up on you after so many years. And that's kind of what happened. And then obviously born to Transcend, trying to fix my own issues, more or less.
Well, thank you for your service first. And we've spoken, before. And Transcend, if people are on social, they know it's a hugely successful company. And it's so great to see, somebody in the military who's in the military who's now trying to help other people who are in the military. So talk about, since you became this gigantic company and so successful, how you've been helping the military.
Yeah, honestly, it got a lot bigger than I expected, a lot quicker, which, speaks volumes to the need, and, how important it is. And I think the military community and the veteran community probably need it more than anyone else. Obviously, the stresses they put on their body, and then, just the system in general, especially after service and what that looks like, and those challenges. But it was very, very important and near and dear to my heart, losing, friends, PTS and, other health issues that, we did something about it. So Brendan Quisenberry and I, my other partner on the foundation side, started the Transcend Foundation. And that's where we give our services to firefighters, law enforcement, veterans, first responders. And we focus a lot in the area of mental health and PTS, and then a lot with TBI as well. A lot of our medications and our protocols, they're great for healing, joint repair. They're great for, helping somebody who's got adrenal fatigue or cortisol issues, and even TBI. We've got some special medications that were originally designed for like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's that are great for cognitive functionality, improving memory, and actually healing damaged brain cells. It breaks the blood-brain barrier and actually permeates into the cell and, gets it to heal itself. So, those kind of medications aren't something that you hear about in traditional medicine, something the VA doesn't really know much about. We do a lot of advocate work where we, try to communicate with those in Congress and Senate, to the FDA, so they're aware of these medications and how important they are. And then obviously try to educate the community as well, all through our advocacy. But it, so far has been pretty successful, and we've had, very good results with it. But essentially, we saw the need and wanted to do something about it. And I think that was the thing is you got to take action. You just can't talk about it and see something. I think anybody who's served, you see something, you do something. You can't walk past the problem. So
You got a guy sitting across from you, 26 years in the Air Force. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna get him ready for like a men's physique contest? What are we gonna do?
I think so, yeah.
Oh yeah, Be ready. I'll be ready for it. Let's go. But
Standing next to Charjo and see how that looks.
yeah, well, you were talking about what you provide. So my time back in the service, I remember when creatine was a big issue in the military. You know, most military folks have taken protein shakes, they've taken amino acids, maybe caffeine has been a help for their workouts, but you're going to the next level now.
Yes.
So do you have a medical background? Like, how did you find yourself in this space coming from an infantry soldier to now providing world-class services and information to our military personnel and those who serve in firefighters and police officers as well?
Well, I'll do the PG version and, skip the long, 2 beer talk that it would normally be. But for me, I do not have a medical background. Mine is more in e-commerce and IT, which was the telehealth piece of it, more the platforming of it. But for me, like I was stating earlier, it was a personal need. After getting out of the military, my wife very big into bodybuilding in the community, and she was prepping for a show and looked amazing. And I just wanted to keep up with her. I wanted to be an active role in her life as a spouse, and participate in that. And I wasn't getting shredded at all. Nothing was happening. And after about 4 or 5 months, and then working with the coach and dieting and killing myself in the gym and nothing happening, it was evident that there was something else going on. And the coach was like, "Yeah, I think you should get your hormones checked and all that." And lo and behold, my test was like 90. It was something ridiculously low at 34 years old. So went ahead and got on treatment, and almost immediately started seeing a change. And I was very thankful for it, because it completely changed my life. I had the ability to have the energy to play with my kids, to get up for work, and not feel like it was a dread, and just have a normal life, which is really all I wanted at that time. But then COVID hit, and that clinic I was going to went out of business, essentially, because it was a brick and mortar. We had to get old school and go see the doctor. And the doc at that point in time was like, I'm going to get into stem cells or do something else. So this is my patient list. If you want to find another physician and anything else, feel free to, start your own MSO or clinic and, see what happens. So we did. And, I always had the idea of bringing in influencers and using education and being an advocate in that sense. And it really took on. I think a lot of people were watching influencers, especially at the time in 2020, height of COVID. People are at home, they're watching their screens and looking, and healthcare was on top of their mind because we had a lot of people unfortunately passing away from a disease. And that just gave me the platform to then speak to it and have our influencers speak to what Transcend can do in our services and healthcare. But the fact that we could do it, right from their home, that was, I think, the part that everybody really, identified with because of the constraints. They only had to go out once to get their blood work done, but at that point in time, they gave us their health history. We had their blood work. We knew their goals and what they were trying to do. We could take this information and we could come up with something custom just for that patient. And then, using the peptides or, bioidentical hormones, if that's what they need. And then get them with a doctor remotely and, go ahead and facilitate so they could get the medications that they need and actually have them compounded and created at the time that they need them, specific to their needs, and ship it to their home. So it made it very convenient.
We used to say you couldn't get cut in a knife fight. That used to be when people couldn't get ripped. But I'm just curious, like we've spoken with Chef Rush on numerous occasions, and obviously he's he's helping the military with suicide prevention and such. Is there any stories or any success stories or anything that resonated with you, basically with military who had issues, mental issues and stuff, and they were on a protocol that that helped them kind of snap out of it or deal better with life?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're seeing a lot, and especially with anybody, combat veterans, a lot of them had vehicle accidents, IED incidences, or just blast instances in general. Say they were clearing a building, if they were an SF soldier. What happens is there's usually pituitary damage, and then that creates an issue with their hormone and the endocrine system, and they're not able to produce the level of testosterone they need. And they don't even realize that either between adrenal fatigue or, pituitary damage or these other, comorbidities,
Mhm.
that really the way they're feeling is as much as it is chemical as it is mental. And the best thing you can do for anybody in that situation is get to their blood work, look at the markers and find out exactly what's going on and address that first. And when you address a hormone issue, it's usually fairly quick to respond the body to what's going on. So within a week, 10 days, 14 days, they're feeling better. They wake up one morning and they have the energy to go on with the day where maybe they were depressed and they were staying in bed prior to that. But at the end of the day, what it gives them is hope. And once you've given a veteran hope, then you're mitigating the problem where it could come to PTS going to, its end result where eventually it leads to a suicide. And the ultimate goal is to obviously reduce or stop completely the number of veterans that are taking their lives. So we go to the quickest possible way to make them feel better. And then once we've got them stabilized and homeostasis eventually, then we work with our partner foundations and, get into more specific types of treatment for mental health. That's when we'll hand them off to Give an Hour or, All Secure Foundation or the Navy SEAL Foundation, whichever is going to be best fit for them at that point. But, it takes a community to help a community. And, that's the approach we've taken.
Right.
Do you find that, are you having success within the Veterans Administrations or within the military care system itself? Are they proactive in this realm of medicine, or is this still so brand new that, they're finding their way as we go along?
Very brand new, very much finding their way as they go along. They're interested in it. Anytime that I'm at an event and, we talk to some of the decision makers and we start the education, it becomes a relationship. And we develop that relationship and then we continue the advocacy and education. We talk about the testimonials and the results that we've had with our patients. And I think it's starting to resonate. And I think they're starting with anything else. There's a slow change that's happening. What we've done, I think, with the industry in general is made the military open to the idea of the use of peptides and supplementation in certain areas that maybe in the past they wouldn't have.
Mhm.
So I'm very excited to see what the future has to hold for that. And Rob, you've been a big part of advocating for that. Frank, you as well. So I wanted to recognize that and say thank you for what you guys are doing to make this possible. Giving us access to have conversations with the right people. That's exactly what's needed in order to make that change occur.
Sure. So with new changes come a bit of apprehension, it's fear of the unknown.
Sure.
So recently I heard about BPC 157 being on a banned list or potentially banned. Can you give us some more information about that? And what is making people fearful? Is it just because it's so new that they just don't know?
Well, the fact is, they're not actually new. Some of these are 20, 30, 40 years old. Peptides are been around for a long time, but the research behind them is spotty. There's research that indicates, there could be side effects. There's, research that indicates there couldn't be. At the end of the day, when you really dive into it and you get specific with something like BPC, you're finding out that it's a chain of amino acids. Generally speaking, anything over 21 amino chains is considered a biologic. And the way the FDA looks at that is much different. Most of our peptides are below that threshold, around the 18, 19 different types of aminos that have been chained together. And the potential for side effects is a lot lower, especially versus the reward and the benefit that it presents. So that's been one thing that we've been doing with the education. Now the FDA, and specifically talking to the situation where a BPC 157 being banned, it's a little different. Nothing's been banned. What they're saying is certain pharmacies can't compound the medication. And that was happening because it was put on a list into a special category where they said we want more studies being done on this before it's,
Who's we? Is it
the FDA?
Okay.
And the same token, the FDA also said that they're not going to enforce that rule. So it made it very gray, right, and difficult. And we're trying to navigate that space now. So we're engaging with lawmakers, educating them, asking for their help, on the Hill to go and talk to the FDA and, get the right information out there and kind of talk about how do we adjudicate these things really, and what's the true harm with them, and how do we get access to, because at my experience and what we've seen in the foundation is they're extremely helpful, and it's improving their quality of life. And if we have a medication that can genuinely improve somebody's quality of life and prevent a suicide, then we should be using it. And I don't think the FDA really understands the impact of that. And that's really what we're trying to bring about.
Well, part of the issue is that TikTok is creating the narrative for peptides and everything else, and you have people who are putting false information out there, and most of our youth is on TikTok watching these videos. And the reason why these videos are doing so well, and there's so many of them, is that they're doing affiliates. So places that are selling these peptides are not even legitimate places, and they don't know what they're getting, and people are just getting affiliate money, whatever it may be, and they're giving false information about some of these peptides, and people are taking it as like gospel, like, oh my God, this is what it does. And that's the problem, that the media, and that unfortunately these days is the biggest media for youth and a narrative of what's going on. So I think people are getting confused and like, oh, I heard about that. That's a peptide's a steroid, isn't it? Or this. They have no idea because of all the misinformation that they're getting from people who have no idea, reading from a script or maybe possibly making money from it. I don't know, but it's just that's the problem.
It is, and that's what we try to combat as much as we can, because obviously we use affiliates to get the message out through social media for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything that we're doing is done above board through medical supervision, and it's approved by a physician, and it's a prescription. Even the peptides themselves. So obviously, it's a little bit different approach than other places will take. If you're not getting blood work done, and you're not talking to somebody about your markers, or seeing a physician, and they don't want to know about your health history, then you're probably in the wrong spot. Because those are, just the minimum criteria that you're going to want to go through before you even consider taking a peptide or something of that nature. But yeah, there's a lot of bro science out there. There's a lot of misinformation. Definitely the TikToks and Instagrams out there, kind of exuberate a lot of that. But the only way to, fix it is to go out there and use the same platforms and give as much information that is correct as you can, and get the much as reach as you can find. So we're working on it.
100%. Like, you also too, when you hire a trainer, you want a trainer to be in shape, right? When you hire them, if you're gonna get somebody to cut your hair, you want them to have hair possibly, right? So when I look at you and I'm like, wow, you've slimmed down, you're in better health now. And I'm like, well, how's he doing it? Like, like you're walking the walk, talking the talk of what you're, producing better health. So talk about how you've changed your own life.
Even in the last year and a half, Transcend's been around about 3.5 years, and we really started taking off after, kind of the end of our first year. And since then, it's been real difficult to maintain steady training and things like that. But what I can maintain is a steady regimen in my diet, my normal routine, try to mitigate stress, and then stay on protocol, my peptides and, anything else that I'm taking. And I've actually lost almost 65 pounds, in the last, 18 months. And I haven't been steadily training. It's been very intermittent at best. And I haven't changed a lot else either, but the medications and protocols work because I know my lab markers, I know what my body needs, I know what it doesn't need. Having that education, being cognizant of that, and then staying on the protocol, I'm optimizing how my body works, with its systems internally. And that is a very powerful tool in itself. I can't wait to be able to use our gym and our facility that we're building now and, actually get back to a regular training. Hopefully I won't embarrass myself when you come and, give some seminars or work in your fill. But,
Ernie,
I'm looking forward to
I told Rob all the time, I'm a show horse. I'm not a workhorse. I'll come in, I'll do a couple of curls. I can't wait. I can't wait to come check it out. And I know you have our good friend Phil Heath, 7-time Mr. Olympia there as well. And, Joe Grant, who's the highest ranking military officer in the IFBB Pro League, who we've had the pleasure of interviewing as well. And we expect him to win the Mr. Olympia this year. Right, Rob?
Yes, we do. That's right. That's right. Go Army.
Yeah.
When you're talking about misinformation, is there an organization or a federation of medical professionals who provide evidence-based information related to peptides? So, for example, if I wanted to go look up someone that's a non-biased source, Can you direct me somewhere to go say, here's?
Yeah, the A for M would
authority?
probably be the best. They seem to
Uh-huh.
have A for M.
What does A for mean?
God, I'm trying to remember the exact terminology that.
We'll provide, in the show notes, we'll provide.
Was
the
that
link.
A4M?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
that
that
was
the
Dr.
doc-
Goldberg's, organization.
Right, right.
The
Yeah,
world
so-
of world of Congress, anti-aging, A4 Dr. Bob Goldman, right? Is that
Yeah,
what
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so Dr. Bob Goldman and his organization and the seminars that they put on, those are probably the authority that I would go to in this space. They have the most experience, and the longest history in it. So we get a lot of our information and follow a lot of the protocol and dosaging recommendations and things that they've, put out. You want to go with somebody that's trusted, knowledgeable, and had the experience, which other organizations did the same thing, but we tend to utilize what they put out.
Nice, yeah. I mean, Bob, there I believe there's an expo or what Bob's having one pretty soon.
Yeah, usually
Yeah,
twice a year he
twice
has
a year.
something, yes.
Yeah, I think you just had one in Florida, and we sent a bunch of our staff, in fact, our senior staff, that kind of oversees our wellness specialists, which are the coaches that'll go through the lab markers and take down the information that the patient has as far as their history and goals and things, and they'll do the initial triage for the physician to tee everything up for them, try to make it an efficient process as well.
Right.
But we sent them out there, and they're the train-the-trainer type of scenario. So we wanted them to get the latest and greatest and bring that back into Transcend. And then there's the event that they have that usually coincides with the Olympia the week
Right.
before.
Mhm.
But both events are phenomenal, and the information there is top notch and usually the most recent and cutting edge.
Right. When we're talking about peptides, it seems like, are we talking mostly male who are taking the peptides? And is there a difference between females, or are there special peptides that you recommend and suggest to females based on their own systems, especially if they're combat female veterans?
Honestly, with peptides, it's not as different between men and women. The dosaging will probably be different. But peptides are, like I said, chains of aminos. They're signalers to the body, telling the body to do something. So whether it's telling them to heal something within the body, or it's again, the cognitive functionality, or any one of 1,000 different things that it does, it's going to work the same way in a man or a woman. Not every single peptide. There are some that are very specific, but I would say from a general perception, about 85–90% of them are interchangeable, except for dosaging. That's got to be specific.
And do you find that males are willing to try these treatments quicker than females, or is it about even?
No, men, you tell them like, hey, you take this, it's going to work. They're going to take it.
Right.
Women tend to be a bit more cautious and conservative, and
Right.
honestly, their systems are a bit more intricate. So it's best to take a less is more approach and to try things more independently and make sure it's working before you add anything into protocol. So there is a very big difference in how it's approached.
Right.
But the medication's pretty close.
Sure. And with these medications, is there an age where you say it is appropriate, and then can a person who is 80, 85 still get the benefits of taking these medications?
I hate this answer, but it depends. Right. No one's the same, and the bodies don't work at the same age, and there's a lot of differences. But I will say that for the masses, anyone in their late teens into their, late 70s, are going to get a good result from peptides, and they're very safe in my opinion. Again, I'm not a medical professional, but
you have medical professionals on your staff.
I have medical professionals on my staff, and we've had 24,000 patients that have come through. So seeing the results firsthand and having that firsthand experience, we haven't had any instances, and we've had really good results. So I'm happy to say they're safe in my opinion.
Right.
That's great. I basically, look, I can attest to taking peptides too, because I take them through Transcend, and I've had absolutely phenomenal results, not only physically, but mentally. And I think people are missing that part of the equation, in that, that there's a mental aspect to to this entire thing about training and a healthy lifestyle that's missed because honestly, the better shape that I'm in, the better I feel because not only do I look better, but I'm eating healthier. It all works together. So I think, like I always say, there's no better therapy than working out. And if you can take something in addition that's going to help you progress physically, but also mentally, I think
Yes.
it's important. If you can, I mean, there's so many things that I wish we had that we have today back in the day. Like I
Oh,
wish
yeah.
this was part of it, because for me right now, I'm trying, to get as ripped as possible. I'm not trying to get big anymore, this, that, but I'm also trying to be healthier, and
Yes.
that's a big thing that's missing because people are looking like, oh my God, I want to be shredded, but I feel like complete garbage.
Yeah,
And
and that's the whole point for the blood work, not to jump in
yeah,
on
no,
you, but
exactly. Yeah.
that's really that's why you need to start there. You need to know what's going on internally. You need to know what your IGF levels are. You need to know, if there's, organ damage or other issues internally. What your hemocrit levels are,
Yes.
especially if you are on bioidenticals as well. You really want to make sure that you're taking the whole picture in before you go ahead and decide to get onto a protocol and make sure that it's right for you. But, coming to us like that, knowing that, hey, I'm of this age, male, this is, kind of how my lifestyle is, this is what my blood work looks by, but I want to be shredded. Well, that just gave me all the information I needed to know for Frank that I'm going to go in and suggest that these are the medications that I would utilize. And
Mhm.
then I'm going to go ahead and write a SOAP note or dissertation that I'm going to send to the medical staff and then have them review that, review your chart, and then have a meeting with you and do that Zoom face to face. You get the opportunity to ask all the questions you need of the physician. The physician's going to give you, informed consent and anything else that you would need. And at the end of it, you feel informed, educated, and ready and prepared. And you know that we've looked at everything from A to Z to make sure that we're getting you something safe. And it's also going to be what you want for an end result. And then obviously we facilitate and fulfill the order and right to your home.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they go online, they watch these videos, and they order from some who God knows where they're making these things and going
Yeah.
on protocols, and then something happens to them, and then like, oh, news picks it up. Oh, this guy was on this or that. You're like, well, where did he get it from? And did he have a blood test? It's like somebody who goes into a 7-Eleven and has two big energy drinks, and they don't know they have a pre-existing heart issue. It's not because of the monster. It's not because of the Monster Energy or whatever it may be, the Red
Yeah.
Bull. It possibly could be because you had something wrong with you that you never knew. So before you start any sort of program, I tell them as a trainer, and I always tell people, look, you're low on energy. I don't know why. Let's go and get a blood test. You're weaker, you feel mentally, you don't feel you're same. Well, let's go check this out so that we really know the underlying. I mean, we could put you on caffeine, we could put you on this, but that's not going to tell the whole story. And that's why that Rob and I have always been talking about is advocating the blood work because you got to see what's going on before you do any of this stuff. Like,
Yeah. Otherwise you're going in blind and you're just trying through trial and error, and error can be a big problem when you're talking with your health. You don't want to have hope as a plan. You want to go
yeah,
in and know, at the root truth and be able to see it and then use the data, the science behind it, and then make informed decisions on what's going to be best benefit for you. And, I can't tell you how many times, thousands of times that, patients like to self-diagnose, they think it's something and they come in and we find out, well, no, this level is low, or, your cortisol, is through the roof, or adrenal fatigue or something else. And we start to address these issues that they didn't even know they had, they just thought they were tired, or, whatever else is going on, just aging in general. Um, but most times we can, again, improve quality of life with the protocol. But
well,
you gotta know what you're hunting for.
it's funny too. So like people like, when it comes to buying supplements or any sort of I don't know, putting a package together of some sort to have a healthy lifestyle, whether it may be food or supplements or whatever it is. It was like, wow, that's expensive. If it's $100 or $200, but yet they'll go out eat, drinks, party, and spend $500 on the weekend. But when it
Yeah,
comes to better health, it's like they have the stigma of spending the money, like, money. But it's until, unfortunately, until some people have a tragic incident, it's the only
yeah,
time when they wake up and say, wow, instead of going out 3 times a week and spending money on food and, and going out and partying and, oh, drinks are $25. Like, give me the tequila and give me this and give me that. Like, you know, your health is the most important thing. So I think when it comes to cost, it shouldn't even be, an
it
issue.
really shouldn't. Yeah, and a lot of the those lifestyle patients, as I like to categorize them as, the ones that, play hard, work hard. There's always somebody in their group, in their friend network that, becomes a patient, sees us through social media or through looking up about symptoms or protocols, and they come on board, they go to the website, fill out the intake document, go through the process. And, they see the results, their friends see the results, and they come in and, they become a patient, and that carries on. But what we find from most of the patients after 90 or 120 days is their lifestyles are changing. They're not going out to the bar as much. They're not eating as bad. They
Yeah.
are going back to the gym. Their libido is improved. Their relationship is better. Their productivity at work has gone up. They got a promotion. It's all those things that, maybe we're kind of nagging them over a period of time that, they just needed that boost to get to that next level and reestablish good habits. And, when we're younger, it's a lot easier to do, right? You bounce back a lot quicker at 26 than, at 46.
Oh,
And,
sure.
we try to make people feel like they're 26 again so they can bounce back a little better or have better habits so they don't necessarily get there to begin with.
So would you consider, once you find what your baseline is, improve your health, it's more of a preventive measurement?
Yes.
Because most of the time, my personal opinion is that in America, we do reactionary medicine,
Yes.
where there's an issue, there's a problem, we react to it, as opposed to getting in front of it and being preventive. So now you eat better, you sleep better, you work out, you do all these things with the end in mind. So if you want to live to 80, you start backtracking. What do I need to do to live to 80?
Yep.
Or 90? And so maybe this is for those who are interested, this could be a supplement to your lifestyle and to improving and increasing your health span as opposed and your lifespan too.
Yeah, the health span is probably a really good term to use versus a lifespan. Anyone can, be projected to live to 80 or 90 and, pass away much earlier because of their, health conditions. But we address the health span and look to improve by extending that out. And, peptides are a phenomenal way of doing it. If you know that's important to you, then this is a great way to do it because you can be on a long-term care. You can, understand what's going on. We can modify, change, add, take away, to a multitude of different types of, symptoms. So if you're looking to live a healthy lifestyle and you're not necessarily looking into this, I would say you're missing out on something significant. If nothing else, you at least get the blood work and know where you are so you have the choice and you're fully informed. We have a lot of people that come to us that are perfectly healthy and perfectly fine. And the things that we tell them are, you're perfectly healthy and you're perfectly fine. And the next question is, well, can I feel better? Can I become faster or stronger or look leaner or younger? And in most cases, it's yes. The answer is yes. We're not age defying and turning back the clock like the fountain of youth, but we can certainly make somebody feel a lot better than they do.
Sure. So with people trying to feel better, I would expect this to be a growing industry. Are the projections that will this soon be a multi-billion-dollar a year industry, or is it something that Europe is doing and the African continent and the US, or is this something basically that mostly it's just Americans using peptides?
So they've been used throughout the world for, again, 30, 40 years or more, and with a preventative style of approach to medicine, in Europe, this is more prevalent, known. Doctors have more training on it, and you see it in their healthcare a lot more often. In the United States, it's very new. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's growing rapidly.
When you say very new, is it within the last 10 years, 5 years?
I would say within the last 5 years, and really, since COVID.
Mhm.
I like to think that Transcend had a little bit to do with that as well, because we grew very rapidly, and with the use of social media, a lot of content and information got out there, and like I said, we grew pretty quickly, and then other companies started coming along too, and I'm happy to see that. Competition is a good thing. Iron sharpens iron, and there's a lot of great companies out there. So anybody that's looking to do this, find people you're most comfortable with, and those are the people you want to go with. At the end of the day, you're putting your health in the hands of that group and that company. So like I said, the approaches are different from place to place, but if they're reputable and they're going through the right steps, then you're going to get a good quality care.
Sure. And with the evolving science of